Hi, in this video I want to get into SEO, and more specifically I want to get into anchor text breakdown when building your backlinks to your websites. How should the anchor text look? And that's one of the biggest changes that Google's made over the past year or two as far as all these big updates. One of the biggest changes comes down to your anchor text. So how is the anchor text? How should it be set up? What are the percentages? What should be at the top? What should be at the bottom? That's what we're going to get into here today. So I plugged yahoo.com into ahrefs.com to analyze their anchor text, and it was surprisingly perfect, nearly perfect as far as what we shoot for with anchor text these days. And this is what we're seeing with our own websites that are ranking. It's what we're seeing other SEOs training and teaching. It is what is working. So it just so happens that yahoo.com's anchor text breakdown is very, very similar, and that's because Yahoo is perfectly natural. It's one of the biggest websites out there, and most of the links it gets are 100% natural. And this is just how it looks like when a site gets natural backlinks. So we'll get into this. First off, the number one keyword that is used when linked to Yahoo is Yahoo. Imagine that. That's the brand name. And Google is really, they've made it very clear that they're looking more towards brands and individuals than they are websites these days. They want to base reputation and authority off of brands and individuals. So obviously when it comes to your anchor text breakdown, they're going to want to see your brand. So if you can, if you're not using a brand, or your brand might be your name, you know, depending on what you're doing, what your website's about, etc. But you want to have some kind of a brand, either your name or an actual brand, and you want to be targeting that, and that should be your number one anchor text. Now, you don't always have to. There are plenty of sites out there that don't do that and still rank well. If it's not, then you want it to be a variation of your URL, because that's just natural. It's always going to be up there. But ideally, you want to have your brand at number one. And the percentages, I don't look too much. I don't get too critical with the percentages because there's so much variation. There is quite a bit of variation with the percentages among sites that rank, that are currently ranking in the top 10. You can plug in, you know, just type in any competitive keyword, do a backlink analysis of the top 10, and you're going to see variation with this percentage. But a lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times you're going to see a very similar anchor text breakdown as far as the brand name being towards the top, different variations of the URL being up towards the top, and then slowly getting down into obscure keywords. And these down here are what the keywords that you want to rank for, and we'll get into that here in just a moment. But you want to have your brand name at the top. You want to have different variations of your URL, and then you want to just kind of slowly get into different obscure keywords, and then your actual keywords that you want to rank for. And the keywords you want to rank for need to be a low percentage. Now again, the percentages, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be 1%. It can be a few percent. You just want to make sure that the percentage of your keywords are not really high. I wouldn't even get close to 10%. I would get it less than 5% of the overall anchor text as your primary keyword, and that's obviously it's just Yahoo searching. Yahoo doesn't have any really primary keywords, obviously, so you're not going to have that here. But you can just assume that that might be, you know, these down here might be variations of your primary keywords, and then mixed in with some obscure keywords, obviously. Add this page to Yahoo, you could look at that as an obscure keyword. So it's really not, you know, real complicated how to do this. It's actually fairly simple. You just want to make sure that your brand name is at the top, that you have different variations of your URL. So you might have www.yahoo.com, you might just have yahoo.com, you might have a variation with http:// etc. And then you'll have another variation, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 variations of your brand as well. So you have Yahoo with the exclamation mark there. So you have different variations of your URL, you have different variations of your brand, and those two, or those two sets of keywords, you could say, should be towards the top. They should have the highest percentage. Each of those should have at least 10% or so in your anchors, okay? And then you slowly get down, and then, you know, around the 5% mark or so, you have different variations. You have some obscure keywords in there, and then you start to get down into your actual keywords that you want to rank for. Okay, so that is really what's working really well. Again, it's not real complicated. You just want diversity. You don't want to get in there and see, 3 different keywords, even if it is, even if you are going for your brand name. If it's only your brand name, one version of it, and then a keyword and then an obscure keyword, for example, and it's, split up 33, 33, 33. That's not natural. That's not normal. So you want variation. You want to try to get your brand name at the top, but you want to have variations of your brand name. As you can see, there's 9% there, there's 22% there, and then different variations of your URL as well. They have the same thing. They have www version, and then they just have Yahoo, 5 and 12. Again, don't get too caught up in the percentages, but get it somewhere around there. These percentages are pretty good. And then you want a couple obscure, click here, original article, whatever they are, and then a couple variations of your keyword. You want your exact keyword in there, at least, a little bit, a small percentage, and then a variation or two of your keyword in there somewhere. And that will work for you. And you can do that with any backlink source as long as it's not pure spam. You can still get links from article directories, web directories, social bookmarks. All of those are still good. We're doing it and it's working. You just want to make sure that you're getting those from sources that have PageRank at the root. For example, that's a good way to filter through to those that are not spam, because normally the spammy sites aren't going to have PageRank at the root, and you'll be good to go. So just keep that in mind, and remember that brand name and those different variations of the URL are very, very important. And then just keep diversity up. Keep diversifying. You want diversity as far as your backlink sources. As you can see here, they have links from all over the world. Of course, you're not going to have nearly as many links as Yahoo has, but you should still have that diversity as much as possible. So diversify your links, diversify your anchor text, get your brand name at the top, different variations of your URL. Keep your actual keywords very low, and you'll be good to go.